Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Have you guys ever wondered how you can turn a 900 square foot house into a 1200 square foot house? Well, stick around in this video and you'll see. Alright, so when we bought this house back in 2019, we knew that there was a bonus room up above the main living room here, but the only way to get to it was through the attic access out in the garage, and you had to crawl through all the trusses and get into this like messed up room with like no subfloor and bird poop everywhere and half chewed up rafters, and it was just kind of a mess. So originally we were never going to do anything with it, but after having 2 kids and a third on the way, we realized we needed a little bit more space in our 900 square foot house. We got kind of sick and tired of toys being everywhere, that we were trying to have people over and have conversations and kids running around and making all sorts of noise. We wanted to have a place where they could go and run around and have total free range. And so what we ended up doing was we redid this attic space up here. So this happened about a year ago, and unfortunately we started this whole project before we knew we were going to do a YouTube channel. So we don't have a whole lot of like previous footage or photos. We do have some just because Julianne was a saint and took some. So a lot of this footage that you're going to see of this whole build is post-build, 1 year later, and this is what we got. So originally, we think that this house had a spiral staircase somewhere. We're not exactly sure where it was, but there is proof that that was here at some point. And with 3 kids and ease of access to get up into the attic, we didn't really want to put that in there, so we had to get kind of creative on how we were going to build a staircase. And for like 2 years, we tried to figure out how we were going to get a staircase up there, because it's a low ceiling up there. I think it's like 6'1", 6'2" at the peak. I hit my head at the peak, so it's pretty short. But one thing we had to work on was where we were going to locate this staircase. And we talked about going through this wall and going straight up. We talked about putting it on the other side. We talked about putting it in different bedrooms, and then turning those bedrooms into a different common area or something. And nothing was really working for that. So what we decided to do is put it right where I'm sitting and head up with the landing or end point kind of in the middle of the room. To build this staircase, we looked at several different options. Being that it's going to a non-conforming space and in a very, very, very short run, we knew it was going to be pretty steep, and there wasn't a whole lot of options as far as like prefab kits. We did find some, but they were expensive, and it was the alternating treads, and we didn't really care for that. So especially with kids going up and down, that was going to be way too hard for them. So I had to kind of put my thinking cap on and figure out how to build something in this space and keep it relatively cheap, because we were on a pretty tight budget on this build. So what you're looking at is a dimensional lumber staircase. The stringer is made out of several 2x10s that were, or I'm sorry, 2x12s that I glue laminated together. There is no screws or anything holding this together. You'll see little pock marks on this, and that's where I actually had to screw these stringer boards together, just because I didn't have enough clamps to hold this whole thing together. But there's absolutely no mechanical fasteners in this whole staircase except for the 5 lag bolts that hold the bottom of the stringer and the 2 lag bolts that hold the top of the stringer. Other than that, this thing is glued and doweled together. I wanted to have a fun project and do something a little old-fashioned, and so far I've been really pleased with it. Alright, so the treads that you're looking at here are 8.5 inches wide by 3 inches thick, and they are literally straight 2x4s from Home Depot. The problem with using pine is it is a soft white wood, and it tends to like to split and crack over time. And so I knew that could possibly happen, and probably would happen. And we do have a couple of splits already. They're surface cracks though, and I don't think they're gonna go through. So I'm not super worried about it. But in order to eliminate that problem, what I did with these treads was for each tread, I drilled a hole on each side and in the middle, and then I ran a 3/4 inch oak dowel through the middle and then glued the whole thing together at once. So you can't see the holes on the treads just because the front and back don't go all the way through. But if you come over here, you can kind of see what I'm talking about here. And for the landing, I did the same thing. I just ran that 3/4 inch dowel all the way through to hold everything together. And this thing is solid. It doesn't really creak, doesn't crack, doesn't make weird noises. And so that was a fun project to get these treads put together. And then as far as a finish coat on these, it's pine. No matter what I did to these things, they're gotta get beat up. And that's okay because I left it just plain wood, so we can sand them down and refinish them when we move. But I did use a product called Rubio Monocoat. It is a spendy product, but I think I had 1 pint, I think is what I had. Did all 13 of these treads, plus the landing. Alright, so the last thing we wanted on the staircase, because I had to do a 30 by 30 landing box on here, we didn't want to just frame a box and then put our landing top on that and then waste all that space. So what we actually did was we put a lid on this thing, and this acts as blanket and pillow storage. And as of right now, I still need to like wrap the inside of this with plywood and finish it all out, make it look nice. But that's essentially what we turned the space into. And if you look here real quick, you can see that the stringer face that, or the box that the stringer is tied into is a solid 4x4 block basically. So as I mentioned before, one of the things that I guess got me to build this staircase is everything else that we saw was like super cost prohibitive. And not overly expensive, but when being on a super tight budget on this whole entire build, I didn't want to dedicate, like, it was probably better part of 30-40% of our entire budget just on the staircase. Didn't want to do that at all. So like I said, getting creative and figuring out how to cut costs to some degree, but still have something that was pretty stout and not going to go anywhere was the challenge. And I figured it out by using dimensional lumber and putting this whole thing together with the stain, the Rubio Monocoat, all the hardware, and then I already had all the tools on hand just because of my day job. But I think I was about $600 for this whole thing, and then the time to do it. And the time to do this, it took me a while to fab all this up, but yeah, for $600, I'm pretty happy with the way it came out. Currently, the only downside, well, there's 2 downsides to this staircase. Is one, I don't have a railing up yet because I gotta fab that up, and that's just a project I haven't taken on yet. And 2, this thing is steep. I think it's like 60 degrees or 59.2, I think is what it was exactly. So when you walk up this thing, you definitely, it's like doing the Stairmaster at the gym. It is steep.
Alright guys, welcome to my part of the video. I get to show you around my husband's wonderful work. So originally what we started with was none of this, actually. This wall did not used to be here. This is a temporary banister because we have kids and they need something so they don't fall off. So these walls are also, Hunter also framed these, so it just went out straight to the soffit pretty much on both sides. And he had the brilliant idea of adding built-ins so that we could put all of our kids' toys, and they also fit cubes. As you can see, most of our cubes are in this little cube container, but these built-ins over here on this wall also do fit cubes, which is really handy. When we started with this space, it was a little tiny bit of like salvaged leftover subfloor, I think from the original flooring downstairs. And then there were just 2x4s and you could see the roof and the roofing nails coming through. So it was really rough. We ended up doing insulation and putting on a new subfloor and then putting all the carpet down and drywall, mud, texture, paint, all that ourselves. And I say ourselves, I was pretty heavily pregnant, so it was mostly my wonderful husband who did it, but
she put me up to it.
Yep, I'm a bad influence, what can I say? But it turned out great, and this has added another 300 square feet to our house, which has been such an incredible blessing, especially with having a new little baby. And now my 5-year-old can play with his Legos to his heart content up here, and my 1-year-old doesn't have to choke on them. So behind this wall over here, there's this cool thing that's kind of invisible. There's a little, I'll show you. There's a little secret door over here, and you push that open, and this is access to the rest of the attic. So this is where we have lots of storage, and which is over our kitchen actually. And then if you go further on, it goes out over the garage. And before we built this, we only really had access to the storage over the garage. So this has added a lot of extra storage for us. So we have all of this extra storage space, which is over the kitchen. I don't know how many square feet that would be, but, and that's not counting this area, this play area, which is about 300 square feet. You might have seen this mirror down here on the floor. This is one of many mirrors that I have collected over the last year. And if you know me, I really love antique, vintage, things with a story, something with history, things that are beautiful. So I have been thrifting, buying a bunch of things of these mirrors. And my eventual plan is to put the mirrors all over this wall because the window is at the other opposite end of this room. And having mirrors on this wall will help reflect that light and create this space that will be a little more bright and lively, I think. So originally this room was all one level, and Hunter and I decided that we wanted to create a sense of there being two separate places. So we wanted to create a space that we could also invite guests to if we needed to have somebody stay overnight, if they're traveling through. And so we decided we were going to add this step. So this step is just totally fabbed. The original floor is still underneath. But this step creates kind of a cozy end to the place. So this is where Hunter built the bookshelves, and we put all of my many books. This is not all of my many books. This is some of them, and we're running out of space
You have
quickly.
too many.
That's what he says. So we wanted a place that was cozy, and then this area is actually big enough that if we wanted to, we could take out the the beanbag and the chair, and we could have a queen blow-up mattress here if we needed to. I've also thought about having a curtain that I could hang from basically right here and drape that way, and that way it creates kind of a separator, a divider in the room, so that there's a little more privacy here. Of course, we haven't hosted anybody, so it's definitely not set up for that yet, but we at least have the possibility to do so. And then over here, we created two more little built-ins behind this rocking chair. I don't know if you can see. And that's for basically people to set their stuff if they need to, if they're staying. And then this would be, my guitar is sitting there currently, but it would be a place where they can set like their luggage and things like that. And then we have this lovely space that is super cozy. and I can barely stand up in it, which is nice. And we have the built-in bookshelves, which makes this place just my dream little spot in our house, honestly. And then we have a lovely view out the window. Okay, so this little spot over here is the kids' favorite place, and it needs to be somewhat organized, more so. But this is kind of a cubby hole that we ended up carpeting so that if they wanted to play in it, they could. It's currently full of lots of things and storage. This is supposed to be our easy access storage, but I've been cramming too many things in there and now it's no longer easy to access most of it. But that's okay. And then we were actually able to fit up a futon upstairs, which was actually very impressive. A friend from church was getting rid of this and we folded it in half and squeezed it as hard as we could, and it barely got upstairs. But we're very, very grateful for this gift because now we have a place where eventually we can just flop out and hopefully watch TV up here someday.
All right, so we're pretty much done up here. I still got a couple of smaller things I gotta do, and then two, I guess, bigger projects yet. First one being, I really want to build like a sliding barn door that goes across this little cubby hole just to kind of separate that off, and that way I don't have to look at all of the crap I have, because I hate that. But the other project, and this, we had no intention of doing this when we first built everything up here, is we have this whole space right here, and originally we were going to just put like a TV stand right here, the TV on there, but then that takes up so much floor space. And when the kids are running back and forth, I can just see that TV getting broke in no time flat. So what we're planning on doing is basically from a stud over here to this stud that the outlet's on. Basically I gotta cut this whole section out and then do basically a built-in like this, but bigger. So we can put that in the wall and then put a TV in there. And I'll have some drawers in it to hold DVDs. It'll have power going into it so we can run all of our cables in there, and then a spot for a sound bar, and all that cool stuff. So one thing I did plan ahead for is, just because on the other side of this wall, a couple feet back, is the soffit, and there is some wires and stuff running through there. And so I figured if somebody ever needs access over there, it would make a lot of sense to have it up here where you could get to it really easy. So this last built-in right here is actually not attached to the wall. It only has two screws going through the shelf mounting holes into the stud. So if I pull those out, I can pull this whole thing out and get in behind all those built-ins and crawl around on the soffit and the rest of the area back there. So getting this built-in back there shouldn't be a problem, but we'll see how that goes. So, and that will be a future video later, so be watching out for that one. All right, and the last big project up here, and it is a big project for me just because I don't have a full fab shop set up, is eventually this 2x4 railing is going to come down, and I'm going to fab up a steel railing and handrail that looks like this, just obviously steel, and then runs down the stairs, just so that it's safe and people aren't falling off and have to worry about that, and it'll look a little bit nicer too. So, but that's a future project and one I'm neglecting to get to. All right, so this whole project up here, like I said, we were on a pretty tight budget doing it. We did all the work ourselves. We didn't hire anything out. And I think in total for all of this, which included framing, new subfloor, drywall, paint, trim, everything you see up here, including electrical, carpet, all of it, we're sitting at right about $6,500 for all of it. And so you add another 300 square foot room, or finish it out. The room was already existing, we just finished it. I'd say that we definitely got our money's worth out of that, and plus that will increase the value in our house when we go to sell it. We'll get some sweat equity out of it, and yeah, call it good. I guess one reason I want to put this video together today for you guys is because when I was getting ready to renovate this attic up here and put stuff up here. I scoured YouTube and tried to find a bunch of other videos to do it. I found what gave me inspiration for that staircase is I actually did find another creator on YouTube and he did something very similar. His staircase was way cooler than mine, but he gave me inspiration for that. But as far as the attic space goes, there wasn't a whole lot of videos to give inspiration to me on what to do up here. I came across a couple, and they were pretty good, but I still was looking. So that's why it took forever to kind of figure out what we wanted to do up here. So I hope that this video helps you guys, give you inspiration from if you have a space like this that you haven't been sure what to do with it. Maybe you watch this video and get some ideas from it. So that's the goal anyways. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video today. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel. We got a lot more content like this and like a bunch of other stuff coming out this year. We got a whole year mapped out for you guys. So stick around. You never know what we're going to be posting. We don't really ever know what we're going to be posting.
Surprise us too.
We have a whole schedule. We're good.
Yep.
I try to stay organized and try to stay efficient. But again, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for hanging out with us today. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss out on our latest content. Remember to get out there on your own adventures in God's creation, and we hope you join us for our next video of this wild life of ours. See you next time!